You think Roxham Road is a big deal in Canada? Well, imagine the entire Mexico-U.S. border. Donald Trump promised to build a wall, and he built, well, a few dozen kilometers of it. But the border is unguarded in the main, and Joe Biden's policy is to maximize the number of migrants. And by the way, they're not just from Latin America. There have been reports of Russians going to Mexico. I'm not saying like Russian spies. I'm just saying people from Russia who go to Mexico and come up. People from China make their way to Mexico and come across the border easier than coming in by plane. Well, Juan Mendoza joins us now on the scene at the border between Mexico and Yuma, Arizona. Juan, great to see you. That is the Trump fence behind you, if I'm not mistaken, but there's a pretty big gap there. In fact, this is called the Gap, isn't it?
That's correct, Ezra. I'm here in Yuma, Arizona, one of the areas that has been worst impacted by the border crisis that has started since the Biden administration has taken office. Yeah, behind me, this area is known as the Gap, where there have been many people that have crossed illegally into the United States. As you can see, we would see that vehicles would park over on the Mexican side by the highway and just drop migrants down there so they could cross illegally into the United States to be apprehended by Border Patrol units here in Arizona. Now, right now, one of the main areas here in the Yuma sector that has been seeing hundreds of migrants crossing illegally into the United States is an area about 10 minutes down the road called the Cocopah Reservation, which they've been seeing hundreds of migrants that have been crossing through illegally there. Right now, they're seeing activity more at nighttime. It is extremely hot here in Yuma, Arizona. So the people wait until nighttime so the cartel smuggle them into the United States and they can be apprehended by Border Patrol units. Now, Border Patrol units have told me that the Cocopah sector is a spot where people cross because the wall is not built there. The residents there in that area asked not to have the wall built. But CBP units have informed me that cartel members actually pay the people in these lands so they can smuggle people through that area.
Huh. Now, I mentioned that I saw reports, including from some of your colleagues on the ground, that it's not just Mexicans. There would be a lot of reasons to cross the border. Better jobs, better paying jobs in America, sort of an economic migrant. There may be some people who seek asylum for reasons their life is in danger. But obviously there's a criminal motive too. There are drug smugglers, human traffickers, and even people with malevolent intentions. Tell us about some of the different categories. I mentioned that some people who aren't even from Latin America are just using this open back door to sneak in, right?
That's right, Ezra. And one of the things that we have seen in the Yuma sector that is different from, say, the Rio Grande Valley and Del Rio in Texas is that we've been seeing people crossing here from not just Latin America. We've been seeing people coming from Russia, from India, from China. And just Border Patrol tells me there's over 25 countries that they've seen people come into Yuma here. So like I said, it's not just Latin America, which is mostly the case in other parts of the United States southern border that are facing the border crisis.
Now, in Canada, when people walk across the Roxham Road border from New York State, it's sort of funny that anyone would be fleeing America, but they're actually just fleeing in the main deportation orders. These are people who sought refuge in America, were denied, and are just coming into Canada because our system welcomes them in, almost never turns them back, and they're given an immigration hearing sometimes 5 years into the future. So they're just processed and literally let go probably forever. That's the Canadian way. What's it like in America? You're mentioning hundreds or thousands of people crossing, and I know along the entire border, the numbers are even much larger. So what happens to, let's say, a 25-year-old man who crosses over and says, I want asylum, to a typical, like a young guy? What happens to him?
So usually DHS tries to state that they are trying to deport people under Title 42. Many times that's not the case, and many migrants here are actually trying to claim Title 8, which is manifestation of credible fear in order to gain asylum into the United States. they're also coming in with family units. And actually, one of the darker aspects with that is that there's many people that will actually smuggle kids that are not theirs and pretend to be a family unit, so they have less chances of being deported. Actually, while we were on the ground here in Yuma, I ran into a 5-year-old kid that had in his arms marked a phone number that said it was his grandfather's. Now, the lady that was with him was saying that he was unaccompanied minor and that he was left in the desert apparently to die. And I tried to call that number to verify to see if it was the actual grandfather, and I didn't get any response. The lady said that she video called the guy, but I mean, there's many cases where people could lie. Like I said, there's people that pretend to have children with them that are of their kin, but that's not the case. And actually, many Border Patrol agents tell me that they tend to say like the same kid 2-3 times at once every time they see people crossing.
Just horrific. I mean, whether that's a kidnapped kid, a runaway, a homeless, an orphan, whatever it is, to use a child in that way is so atrocious. I guess you were saying some of them lie. If you're willing to kidnap and abuse a human child that way, you're probably willing to lie as well. I mean, and again, whether you're just trying to cross for economic reasons or refugee reasons, real or not, there are also the darker elements, like you say, that kind of trick, that kind of tactic is very much what a terrorist might do, what a drug cartel might do. I mean, that's not just an ordinary person coming up with some devious plan. That is an organized international criminal element. I don't know. I find that very troubling. That was an excerpt from my daily TV-style show called The Ezra Levant Show. Each weekday, I do a monologue on the news of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest. I read some fan mail or hate mail, depends on which I like more. And we end with a video of the day. You can get it all at rebelnewsplus.com.